Oh, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's podcast. It's going to be our first episode for this evening. Of course, we'll be kind of discussing through all the tricks and all the problems we will encounter about streaming and live streaming, of course. Tonight, I'm going to be joined with my lovely little second host, which is going to be Machine Daena. How are you tonight? Or this afternoon, I should say. I'm so used to...
This afternoon, just
I'm
2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm normally used to
How you
saying
doing?
this night because I normally do stuff at the night time. But yeah, I'm doing great. How are you for this day?
Okay, yeah, for those that are watching, listening, so I'm Daena. People know me as Machine Daena, or MD for short. I've got a YouTube channel that's got 8,000 subscribers and gets about 2 or 3 million views per year. I run a small podcast, which I started about a year ago, which is kind of politics based, and we do some sport and stuff on there as well, pretty light-hearted podcast. And then also I do some streamer tips and some other kind of stuff as well to do with OBS and Streamlabs OBS.
So you are some ways the old professional about this. You're kind of the first person that actually got me into doing all this such. So I owe you a lot to you in some ways because you're the first person who actually got me interested into it and actually started my own streaming as well and my own recording. So it's a lot of thank you to you. Yeah, that was through Twitch about 3 years ago. So it's been a pretty long journey in terms of it all coming together. But into the main discussion of this podcast for this evening, it is going to mostly be talking about how to choose what type of platform you want to use as a new streamer or content creator. What software you should use, such as OBS or Streamlabs OBS. I mean, we'll be discussing about the bit of the controversy between Streamlabs and OBS itself, as you probably do know yourself. We do love the controversy about the Streamlabs and the Streamlabs OBS.
Yeah, I've got some stories about that. Do you want to get into that now? Or
I mean, yeah, go on in. Let's go on in. Talk about a good old-fashioned story about how much people love and hate Streamlabs and OBS.
Well, there's loads of different platforms you can obviously stream on. It was the case a couple of years ago that there's only a very limited number of platforms, but pretty much any social media now you can go live on, and they're all in obviously different formats, whether it's TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, whatever. And a lot of it depends on what type of audience you're trying to reach, really. Obviously the traditional ones are the YouTubes and the Twitches of this world, but more recently, obviously, Instagram, TikTok is more kind of informal chit-chat. I'm a bit of a boomer, so I don't really do much TikTok stuff. So a lot of what I do is Twitch and YouTube based. Obviously pre-recorded or live, depending on whether it's on podcast or just general streaming. But yeah, in terms of the actual platforms you can use to enable that to happen. So we're talking about actually pulling all of the different sources together in a scene, making it look nice, making it sound nice and look good, be interactive and all that sort of stuff, and do everything you want it to do. Sort of like a production environment, albeit it's your own production environment. I guess the main two that people do use are Streamlabs OBS and OBS Studio. What's your thoughts on those two, Jamie?
Oh god, don't even get me started about it. The debate about which one's better. Of course, you have people saying that Streamlabs is easier for a newer person into getting under the streaming career, or recording themselves. It's kind of who you're wanting to, who you want to kind of become in terms of producing your content. For a new person, I would say go towards Streamlabs, as all the features which are already inside the software is very simple. It's just allow you to pick it up, add a few settings in it, and boom, you're kind of ready to go. But with OBS, it's a bit more complicated in some ways. I would say if you're a new person who has no idea anything about OBS, I would probably say go to Streamlabs because it's probably a lot more easy to get started. It has all the things like overlays really kind of presented there. The alert box if you're going to do live streaming, so if you get a follower or might get a sub or anything at all, it'll appear on the stream, which for a new person, it is great, but for a person which spends time, wants their stream to look as high quality as possible, definitely go for OBS. But for me, I would say OBS is better because I have tested both softwares in the past, and I've kind of found that using OBS over Streamlabs, I get 30% more performance out of my computer. So I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I think Streamlabs is actually a little bit more hardware intensive due to its features.
I think I'd agree with you that if you're completely new to streaming, and particularly if you're not very tech savvy or not very confident, jumping into Streamlabs is probably the easier path of least resistance, definitely. If you're wanting to do more with your stream and you want to do more complicated things, you're a little bit more confident, and perhaps you don't want the hassle of switching down the road, definitely OBS Studio. The main differences between the two: OBS Studio is a open source piece of software that's been sort of continually in development by the community. There are some key developers that do that, but there's in general a load of other people that will develop plugins and so on. Streamlabs OBS did actually use the source code for OBS Studio when they developed it, but I don't know if you know or not, but Streamlabs is owned by Logitech, so they're a big corporation basically piggybacking off the hard work of an open source piece of software. There was some controversy around about a year ago where basically the streaming community backlashed into Streamlabs OBS because they'd sort of got a reputation for stealing software and then renaming it or rebadging it, and they'd already done that with streaming software for OBS, but they'd done it with loads of other bits of plugins as well. Now, the thing about Streamlabs OBS is the plugins are fully developed by Logitech Streamlabs, whereas OBS Studio, it's by the community. So, and they're very much trying to monetize it, Streamlabs. So some of the features are behind a paywall, whereas with OBS Studio, not really any of the features are behind a paywall. Most of the features in OBS Studio you can just get access to. However, it's a little bit more difficult to set it up. So that's another point really, is if you don't want to spend any money at all, probably OBS Studio is the right option for you. And often there's a lot of other tools you can pull in to OBS Studio to get what you need to do on stream. For example, alerts that pop up when someone follows you or subscribes or something like that, and all kinds of other different bits of interactivity like that. So they're the main two. I did actually do some content about this. I was lucky. I don't know if you remember this at all, Jamie, but I had a video on YouTube that was all about switching from OBS Studio from Streamlabs OBS to OBS Studio at the time that controversy happened. So that video was getting like 10,000 views a day or something ridiculous like that at the time of all that, because people didn't want to use Streamlabs anymore. Yeah. But that being said, if we're to be fair about it, it is the easier of the platforms to use. So it's definitely, you could sort of call it the gateway drug really for streaming in terms of hardware and software.
I mean, I guess so. It's that really big controversial because OBS, as you said, is just community based, while Streamlabs, they monetize the living hell out of it. You've seen how Streamlabs do with their costs. For like one overlay, it's like, pay about 30 quid for one questionable overlay. So I don't know, personally speaking, from overall just me using it by myself, I would say I'll stick to OBS because it's just easier, as I say, and there is multiple different other softwares you can use, like Stream Elements, which is like Streamlabs OBS, but instead of being overly monetized, they offered free overlays and free other such, which are very high quality and very good. I would recommend if anyone which is interested in getting like into like overlays or adding like bots or features towards like a live stream on Twitch or YouTube, I say Stream Elements has like a very big list of things, plus all the bots like night bots, because you do have the Streamlabs bot, which is pretty good to be fair. I would say the Streamlabs bot they do use is very good, but just overall Streamlabs isn't that good for how much it costs you.
Yeah, I think the key point is, so there are lots of different softwares you can use. We've talked a lot about Streamlabs OBS and OBS Studio, only because they're the two most popular in the market. But there is XSplit that does a similar thing, pulls in all those sources, creates a scene, allows you to broadcast. Twitch have got their own version, Twitch Studio, and a few others. But to explain the landscape, you've got like the software that actually does the broadcasting piece, which pulls all the sources together and essentially bundles it into one screen and then pushes it up to whatever platform. And some of them are multi-platform, so you can push the same screen up to Twitch, YouTube, or whatever at the same time, even to TikTok and Snapchat and all sorts. So, but then you've also got other bits of software that sort of bolt on to give you extra functionality. And really what they are about is adding sources and interactivity onto those scenes. So they're not necessarily anything to do with the broadcasting software that you're using. but they will make the experience for the viewer much more interesting. Or totally break your broadcast. I'm sure you can. You've got some examples of that, Jamie.
Oh, don't even get me started of how many times my broadcast has been completely ruined because of overlays just glitching out and such. But yeah, as you did say, there is multiple different softwares you can use. You were mentioned about software which can they can take your Twitch stream or say your actual stream and put it out to different platforms. No, a very popular one which people do use is called Restream, which is probably the most questionable one, as there's kind of a big argument about should you really be streaming to multiple platforms, because it kind of comes a little bit disconnected towards a viewer. Because if you're watching, let's say for example on Twitch, and then somebody's messaging about, on YouTube, you kind of can't read their messages and you're kind of a bit lost and confused. But most streamers normally get around this by having like a text box, which is the general text box, which shows all the chat from every different platform which is being presented to.
There's a few parts to that, isn't there? So there's the point of view of the viewer. If you're a viewer on YouTube and messaging and interacting with other viewers, you're only on YouTube. You don't know what's going on TikTok, on Twitch and whatever. So if somebody else on Twitch sends a message and the streamer responds to that message, someone on YouTube could get confused. But also, if you don't have the chat set up as the streamer, you're not necessarily even going to see all of those different chats coming in from all the different platforms. However, the benefit of using something like Restream is that you are able to multi-stream to multiple different platforms. So theoretically, the reach is a lot better as a result of using a multi-platform stream. The only thing to be careful of is some of the platforms, notoriously Twitch actually, are quite... they've got terms and conditions that sometimes restrict that. So Twitch, for example, doesn't like you to live stream on YouTube at the same time because they have an exclusivity over your content for a 24-hour period. Whereas they say, well, if you're going to stream on TikTok at the same time, we don't really care about that, which is just a bit of a weird quirk that they have with their terms and conditions. So there's a few different things to think about when you're having a discussion between multi-streaming and sort of single platform streaming onto, let's say, Twitch or just exclusively to YouTube or something like that.
So there is a massive debate about that. A few questions going in the chat. What's your honest views about Mixer? Because I see some people are kind of talking about it in the chat. Personally, in my opinion, I don't think Mixer's that great of a streaming platform. It's a very low down mixing platform, or streaming platform, I should say.
For a Mixer?
Mixer.
Didn't it die?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
It was Microsoft's... Mixer was Microsoft's. Famously, Ninja and Shroud went over to Mixer. It started to do quite well. Yeah. I think Microsoft realised it was too expensive to run that type of streaming service. They were losing, I think, hundreds of millions per year. And I think Mixer then closed down. I don't know if it's resurfaced, though. Maybe it's resurfaced recently.
Possibly, but someone is saying that Mixer is better. But if Mixer is still alive, which I don't think it is, because I did believe that it did shut down, I think for a new streamer, I feel like going to one of those platforms which have a very low viewer count, but also kind of a very low streamer count, it could be beneficial, but long term, you probably want to go to one of the main sites, because it's kind of the big issue between starting out as a new content creator and actually trying to get, noticed, trying to get viewers and how to become popular and such. But I would say for going to a platform like Mixer, which is very low down, it will only benefit you for that short period of time, because eventually you're going to run out of viewers to entertain or reach to, because not many people watch it. So if you kind of reach out after doing Mixer, it might not help you, because all the original viewers which are on Mixer might not come to a platform like Twitch or YouTube streaming. So that would what I would be cautious of, is how do you make money in terms of this content creation or on Twitch?
It's all about the money. We don't do this for the fun of it. It's all about the money.
I don't know about that one.
No, actually, to be fair, I liked the tech side of it. I really enjoyed learning about lighting, cameras, microphones, the software. But in terms of the ways that you make money, depends whether you're talking about pre-recorded content and edited content, for example, YouTube videos, or just straight up live streaming and podcasts. But the primary methods are straight up advertising from the platform themselves. So, for example, Twitch will give you a share of their advertising revenue. YouTube will give you a share of their live streaming advertising revenue. But whenever there's an advert that plays, there will be a company that is paying for that. And, YouTube will give you a percentage of whatever that company is paying. But then they're also dividing that by, thousands of streamers as well. So that sounds great until you realise that cut is actually quite small. Until you get to be quite a large streamer, in which case it can get to be quite significant amounts of money. A lot of people will get sponsored streams as well. So maybe a company will come in and say, we want to promote our product or service through your stream. So we'll pay you a fixed fee or maybe some sort of affiliate kickback. So you'll quite often get like gaming companies, for example, say, play our game for a period of time on stream, maybe 2 hours, and we'll give you, X many hundreds or thousands of pounds. And then the other ones would be, let me see, quite a lot of people make money through actually launching their own products and services.
Yeah.
Merch is the big one, launching your own clothing lines and so on. There are quite a few other ways to make money, but it's quite a long and distinguished list.
Yeah, the list never goes on, but it's mostly, when it comes of like trying to make money, let's say for Twitch, for example, most your general income from Twitch will be either from donations or from like Twitch subs. And of course, yeah, and if you've ever been lucky enough to be in a stream when there's a Twitch hype, or what's it called, a hype train, that is when things get a bit more serious, because in the stream there will be like an announcement, and then everybody will be enticed trying to level up the hype train to get like certain emotes and like little like things to post in people's chat and such. So people often do donate with what they call their currency, which is called bits. So in the bits to money translation of like the currency rise, 1 bit is like equal to 1p. So you often see people dropping like 100 bits, 500. Yeah, so. Of course, and then of course you do have a Twitch sub, which I believe it's gone down in price recently. It used to be a solid £5 per Twitch sub. I think it's gone down to like £3 now. Maybe that's just me, but I have seen, I did buy a sub recently, and it has been reduced in terms of the cost. So, of course, you do have Twitch subs, and you can gift subs, and you can buy a sub, and a sub is mostly used to support the streamer, and it also allows the streamer himself to give out like custom little like picture emotes of the character, for example, or just something interesting, and then they can use it in the chat. Plus, it gives like a list of like additional features, like having no cooldown and getting more channel points to do little things on channel points. And I do know that you love your channel points, don't you?
Yeah, so subs are a really interesting thing, because it's all about what value you add as the streamer to encourage people to give you that recurring income. And obviously you can cancel your subscription at any point, but you can also allow it to run. And with that can come some security of income and some scale. So, for example, if you end up getting 50 or 100 or 500 subscribers per month, all of a sudden that money can start to scale up quite a lot. Again, there is a split. Like, for example, with Twitch and with YouTube, they will take a cut of that subscriber revenue, but you will typically get at least half, if not 70% of that cut as well. So, and then it just comes down to how you add the value. I mean, there are the things in the platform that are native, for example, emotes and emojis and stuff like that. You can even do exclusive streams to your subscribers, so you're actually putting your content behind a paywall. But then there's also access to other features like the channel points you mentioned there, Jamie. That allows you to create custom rewards and perks for people, which they can accumulate points for, and so on and so forth. And then it really, it's like the world is your oyster. You can make up any kind of perk you want, and then just create that interactivity on the stream.
Say, what you perfected brilliantly is that you have your own Streamlabs website, and I do know when you do have a certain amount of channel points, you're able to play a sound alert or a video alert on your stream, which is, it's all fun and all until you realize that people like to spam them, which is quite amusing, which I've done in the past to annoy you. I mean, it does add to the fun, in fairness. It's just certain... That is just your mistake for allowing them to have that freedom. That's all I'm hearing. It is, yeah. So you shouldn't allow anybody who has that level of responsibility to have that type of role, because oh my, once people have channel points, they are going to spend them like there's no tomorrow. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, but it does create those funny moments, though, doesn't it, on stream? And it just helps people feel a little bit more involved. And it also, as the streamer, gives you control over the type of content that you want to create and the type of audience that you want to sort of curate. So
it's a fair bit, I must admit. I mean, I have dabbled in trying to use sound alerts to try to get that interactivity on the stream. But I say it's really kind of depends in some ways if you want to have your viewers to harass you in that form. It's really up to you in some ways, but it does create the best moments and probably also the worst moments. I think the worst thing is when you're playing a game and you're kind of really immersed in it, and you have someone play a super loud, scary sound effect, and it scares the living hell out of you. I must admit, it's happened before.
There's the scary bits like that, like, oh my god, like your heart rate goes up. And you can actually get tools that allow your heart rate to be displayed on the screen as well, which makes it even more fun. But then there's the other bits where you're just trying to concentrate on someone's footsteps so that you can perform better in the game, and then all of a sudden you can't hear anything because the sound alerts are playing over. But again, it's all just fun and games. It all adds to the content. So as a viewers, because that's just not the case. I have historically done fairly well. And definitely consistency is a massive part of it. I think what a lot of people do when they first join, and I think we touch on this later, burnout. But a lot of people when they first start streaming or podcasting, the enthusiasm's there, the newness of it's all there, and you want to do it all the time, and all of a sudden you realise it's not necessarily sustainable. And it's actually better to not stream as frequently, have good content ideas, and do it consistently for a long period of time. And what that allows you to do is create a real community of people around your content, and you'll then have the credibility and the reliability. So when I've had the most success when I've been streaming, it's been when I've been consistently doing the streaming, even though it might not be every single day, it will be consistently twice a week or 3 times a week or something like that. Where I have been a little bit more successful is on YouTube, so that's doing pretty well for me. And I would say that, again, consistency is a really big part of that. But also, I think always working on the quality of what you're doing. You may start with a really crappy microphone and a rubbish camera and all that kind of stuff, and that doesn't necessarily matter. Some of the biggest, most successful streamers do not have great gear. But I think just that process of jumping on, trying it out, being consistent and being committed to improving the quality over the course of time give you the confidence to make your content better. But by far and away, I think the biggest thing, other than consistency, is to try and cultivate a really positive community. Make sure that you're interacting with your community, not just whilst you're streaming, but through other platforms like Patreon, like Discord, and different routes. So obviously all the different social medias. A lot of people on Twitch, for example, don't really do much of their growth through Twitch. Their growth is actually through TikTok, and they'll push people from TikTok, from their videos on TikTok, to Twitch. So they use Twitch as their main broadcasting platform and maybe even their main revenue channel, but not their growth channel, because historically Twitch has not always been a very high growth channel organically. And the same goes for YouTube as well. You're talking about YouTube streaming. So yeah, I mean, in answer to your question, how do you kind of be successful and grow it? I definitely think the consistency. I definitely think striving towards quality and trying to cultivate a community that can interact with each other, not just with you. So it's always nice when you see people talking to each other in your stream, and it's kind of good because you then get to the point where you're not even needing to interact with them yourself. They're interacting with each other, which is pretty cool. And then the other thing is just trying to carve out a niche too. So I know that, certain games are quite saturated. The high volume games that are really popular, the chances are you're not even going to get seen. Whereas if you look for the games that are, or the content types, because it doesn't have to just be gaming, obviously it can be a podcast, it can be a chat show, it can be any type of, there's quite a lot of successful cooking streamers out there and that kind of thing. And also true crime as well has become really big on Twitch and also like Netflix and stuff like that. So it doesn't necessarily have to just be like gaming, it can be all kinds of different content, but trying to find something that you're interested in, that you really care about. That's really important because it allows you to stay motivated to do that content. and you learn about it, you become an expert on it, and then all of a sudden your content can become a lot more interesting as a result of it. So carving out that niche, if you're just splurging on the page a little bit and trying to do anything on any day and not really making a great deal of effort over the type of content you're doing, the chances are you won't develop a proper USP, and also the community won't be given enough time to sort of organically develop. I don't know if you've got anything you wanted to add to that, Jamie?
I mean, mostly just the same thing. I say it's mostly about just being sustainable. You know, you want to find a game or subject which you like, which isn't like overly saturated. Now, this is where like I would find the biggest issue comes from most streamers is that once you start streaming, you have no idea what people want to watch, and your kind of natural instinct is kind of look at what has the most viewers. But what that doesn't mean is, you know, you see, like we say, 100,000 viewers are watching, you know, like Warzone or something, Call of Duty Warzone, but throughout those 100,000 viewers, you know, there's going to be like 4,000 streamers. So out of those 4,000 streamers, what is the likelihood that you're going to be seen out of the super big people which have like 50k viewers actively or like 20k? Because you're just going to be right at the bottom of like the pool of streamers, and you're not going to get seen, you're not going to be noticed. So and it's going to be very unlikely anybody is going to be looking at low to high, which is because the default is recommended, and the Twitch recommended thing is normally works with what is going to be the most best streamer for you. But most of the time, it usually just ends up being the largest streamer. But you know, once you do use it for a while, you can start to bring it into being like the lowest one, or like ones with like 1 to like 20. Kind of depends on how you want to interact with the stream. Because there's something which I just want to quickly add before I come back to you is there's two different types of streams I find. It's the ones which are super big, which have, like I say, 20k viewers, and they don't interact with their chats. But that's just because they're big and they can keep running, you know, entertainment, and it's just really popular. But then you have the smaller ones which are more community based, or very interactive with the chat, constantly speaking to it. You know, it's just very hard once you reach a certain stage to kind of keep that interaction up.
Yeah, there's just so many people in chat, you can't respond to every question and so on. So I would add that the thing about streaming as well is a lot of people just turn up and switch on the camera and start talking, and that can work if you are naturally incredibly entertaining, but very few people can keep that up for a long period of time naturally, and some people can, and if you're one of those people, then you know, credit to you. But most people would do best to have a plan going into the stream, or not just on a day-to-day basis, like one stream versus the next stream, but also in general as well. So you plan for the types of games that you're going to play, or the types of contents that you're going to play. If you're planning on just turning up, and I'm guilty of this as well, I sometimes do it. I just want to go live, interact with my community. I'm not really bothered about the content that I'm making. I just want to sit and chat with my community. Sometimes I just turn on the camera, and unfortunately they tend to be the streams that are the least successful streams and the least engaging streams, whereas the most successful ones are where I've thought about, right, what am I going to do today? What am I going to bring to the table that makes me worth tuning into? And like sometimes it might be themed around the time of year, seasonal stuff like Valentine's Day or Halloween, or you know, maybe playing scary games or something like that. But then there are other times where I've done like certain events, like a 24-hour stream, or maybe I've done like a co-stream with other streamers, networking and stuff like that. So but it all boils down to trying to really plan what you're going to do rather than just turning up. Now, turning up can work, but only for a very select few people, because so many people do that.
Yeah, so it's very important. Plus, something which I want to mention, you talked about choosing games or themes about your thing, but something I want to mention is interactive games, which are kind of massively increased, and we can name a few of them. Of course, you do have marbles on the stream. You have like games like Jackbox, super popular game Garlic Phone. There is tons of like these new free or paid games for the streamer, which you load it up, and then viewers in the chat can also join the game. And it kind of adds this level of like interactivity, because for example, a game like Marbles on the Stream, it's a very simple. It's very simple. It's, you join by doing !play, and then you have a marble which has your name on it, and you go down this track. Yeah, and they race. It's just a super simple it's just super simple, and it works. It's just, you have a marble, you're racing, and it's like, it's super competitive. People in chat go, wild because they want to be the person which wins. They want their marble to win. It's just such a unique idea, which surprisingly just works super well, and it's taken the whole Twitch thing massively, because now I know for a fact when I was in my prime day, as I call it, when I used to be streaming tons, about 2 years ago, I used to be super good at it because I used to pull in like roughly 30 more viewers than I would normally do when I was playing my normal game, because start a game like Jackbox, people want to play that, people want to interact, and of course you have all the funny moments. People want to be themselves. People will say funny or inappropriate such, and it will make people laugh and it'll be interesting. So stuff like that does happen.
Yeah, so the key difference between streaming, maybe not so much a podcast, but certainly streaming in general, and like other forms of content, like a TV program or Netflix or like just browsing YouTube, you've got that interactive element. So really, if you're able to leverage that interactive element in a unique way, whatever that is, whether that's the game that's unique and interactive, like you described marbles on stream, and there's loads of others that do similar things, or you find another way to engage the audience, that's what they're there for. I don't think most people are there to just watch content blindly, because I think most people would rather watch a cut down version of the best bits, like a YouTube video or even a Netflix series, versus that. So it really is that interactive element that makes the difference when you're talking about live streaming.
So it does make it harder, because it's going to be challenging for, if you're going to decide what you want to do. Podcast is, you kind of lose that idea of interactivity, because yes, for this example we can somewhat chat to the audience, but to a certain level, it's, you'll sit there and you've chosen this topic, you have studied it, you have it written down, you have ideas of what you're going to talk about, but once you are kind of live, you are talking about that subject and you can't really get off it too much. You could have little subtopics that you can maybe discuss something else, but it's kind of a difficult one. But I say, if you want to like watch content, you have to kind of make your mind up. Do you want to be in an interactive type of theme, where you're going to be chatting, playing little on-stream games, or do you want to sit there and watch the best moments from a stream or YouTube video which has been cut down, super fast edits, showing all the best moments, all the funniest moments, which some people do prefer that, but some people do like to be there. And there's kind of this new recent thing of where people will tune into a stream just for the sake of just saying hello to the chat, because some streamers do like to show their chat on their videos to say that this person was here or he said something funny, and they'll show it off in chat. And for a viewer which has the possibility to be featured on a larger creator's channel, that is huge. That is huge. Yes. Oh god, tell me about it. Don't want to get into it. Done something like that, but we have got a fair bit of a list of questions going on. So, question towards you: what has to be your favorite game to stream? What game would you choose over other games?
Oh god, it's probably a toss-up 50-50 between a game like Civilization, which is turn-based. You build an empire slowly and steadily, and you can chat to the stream. There's no pressure to, it's not live. The game is turn-based, so you can take the time. That's always quite nice, and I'm quite good at that game. So put a lot of hours into it. Civilization 6 is one that I'm playing at the moment, so I've got a lot of hours in that. And the other one is Rust, because that is live. That's like the complete opposite. You have really got to focus. You've got to be there. You're going to get killed a lot. There's some stupid, funny moments. It's PvP as well, so you're playing against other people that are just going to try and take your stuff. Like you can wake up on a beach with a rock, and you find a spear, and all of a sudden someone kills you and takes your spear. A spear in today's world doesn't really mean much, but when you're in that game, you can really need that spear. So they're probably my two favourite games, and they're two totally different types of game and different types of content. What about you, Jamie?
I think personally, when it comes to my all-time favourite games to stream, it would probably have to be Team Fortress 2, which is a very goofy, very cartoony game which has been around for years, produced by Valve. It's been around for about, I believe, 13 years now, and despite this, it still has a very massive player base. Yeah, the community keeps it alive, but I think my second game would have to be a VR game called Beat Saber, because in Beat Saber, it's basically it's like a music, like rhythm type game, and you have to kind of like hit blocks and such. And it's really good because you can increase the interactability, because you can get people to request songs, and there's a mod called BSR which allows people in the chat to post in song links, and they can, if there's a Beat Saber song of it, they can play that song, and people in chat like to suggest songs of what to play, and what songs they want to see in some ways, which is very nice to. Yeah, Beat Saber has a pretty solid community, but going over to a massive question which has been asked. So what about choosing your back? Yes, we'll go through them. Yeah, we'll go crack through them. So this is kind of a bigger question, which is how do you choose your background in studio setup, like lights, your camera, your microphone, how do you kind of like organize it all to which you choose what you want to use in some ways?
I was going to say, it's worth mentioning, though, that also the first mic you get doesn't have to be the long-term mic. I started off with a £40 microphone, and then I sold that for £20, and then I got another microphone for £100 and sold that for £75. This microphone, I've got two of these microphones because we use them on the podcast as well. This is a £400 microphone. I didn't start with a £400 microphone. Like, you don't have to start expensive. It's sometimes better to start with a lower-end thing, see how you find it, see what you like, and then progress as either your budget changes or as your tastes change as well.
So yeah, it's, as I say, I would say for a general price range, when you're starting out, just get get a crappy £20 one, but if you're going to be committed to it for a long time, I would say between 100 and 200 is your more, that's the sweet spot between a high quality and not being extremely expensive, like 400 quid over here, Mr. MD. But if we have any more questions, do ask it. But before then, we'll probably finish off with our last, which is kind of our last point we have to kind of make, which is, if we were going to, if this example, let's just say we went back to when we first started and we knew everything we know now, how would we do it differently? How would you make your stream more interactive? How would you kind of capture that original audience? How to get that first little bit of energy you had into getting into streaming, into video production? How would you capture it betterly and move it out a lot more?
I think for me, if I was to do it again, I would definitely focus on the growth side of it. So trying to find the platform that will give you the growth. At the moment, it seems to be TikTok is giving people a lot of growth. I didn't and still don't really focus a lot on TikTok, but that is such a great source of growth. There's so many people that have gone from zero to hero in such a short space of time by using a platform like TikTok. And just repurposing your content. You don't have to record separate content for TikTok. You can just take the content you've already got from your live stream, make a small edit, and there are loads of tools out there that allow you to do that quickly and pop it onto TikTok and just really do that consistently. And again, it comes down to that consistency. There's no point in doing it, 10 TikToks a day for 2 weeks and then not posting on TikTok for 2 months. It's better for you to post once a day on TikTok for that 2 month period of time, and then you're going to get that slow and steady, purposeful growth. So that's probably what I would have done differently on that side of things. How about yourself, Jamie?
I would probably agree with you there. I would say I would branch out more, because I feel like I stay too focused on Twitch growth, and trying to grow on Twitch is slow. It's very hard, but it's very tough. But I say I would definitely take advantage of TikTok, and I'd post a lot more different channels and different websites, but that would probably be my general thing. Plus, I would also say to myself to not go too into it. I feel an issue which I had was I spent all my time streaming, and I mean, for starting out, you shouldn't really be streaming 6 to 8 hours at a time. But I would often go home from school and I would spend 6 hours streaming straight live, and that's a huge chunk of time. So,
although the opposite to that though is, or the counterpoint to that would be, if you do a lot of streaming early on, you do learn more quickly.
Yes.
So, if you're prepared to, I think if you go into it knowing that intensive period of learning It doesn't last forever, and you switch it up to a schedule at a later point in time, a more reasonable schedule. So, although earlier I said it's better to be consistent, equally, getting a load of stuff out early on does help you like more quickly go up the learning curve. So it does have its benefits, but yeah, it can burn you out.
Yeah, it can most definitely burn you out very quickly, but I say that was what I would probably say. Just try to like make it less intense, like overall, and just kind of like focus down on the key specifics. And once you've done that, that will be kind of the benefit. But that is going to be kind of all we have to say for today, as we do need to end it off. But thank you for everyone who did check in for this evening. Thanks to Daena for showing up with his beautiful eyes and smile.
Thanks for having me. No problem. It was good fun.
There's all been a bit of fun, and he's had his little chat. He's had his fun for this evening, or should I say this afternoon. I keep saying this evening because I'm so used to doing stuff for the evening, but no worries. But thank you all for checking. If anyone does have any more questions, do feel to ask me. But other than that, this has been the podcast. I do appreciate everyone did show up, and goodbye for now, I guess.